everyone, it's the Miserable Movie Band back once again with another video. A little bit longer than I anticipated, been fairly busy with kids' birthdays and things, but I did watch episodes 10 to 12 of Andor, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you all. Now, as you know, I'm not an Andor fan, and if you follow my channel, I've done videos as to why. Tony Gilroy has come out and said he doesn't care about lightsabers, doesn't really care about the Force, doesn't care about space battles that much. He cares about people. And that's fine. I care about people too. I care about the people in Star Wars. But I don't care about them enough, at least the characters that are in Andor. I don't care about those characters enough to really be invested in this show. And that's something I've said in my other videos. Episodes 10 to 12 are incredibly highly rated. People have said, again, best Star Wars content ever. They have been critically acclaimed, and every review is overwhelmingly positive. So, in order to balance that out, here's my take on episodes 10 to 12. I thought they were okay. I thought some parts of them were interesting, but I thought a lot of it was pretty mundane, and a lot of it was very stupid. But let's get on to the interesting stuff. First of all, I enjoyed the way they portrayed the backstory for Luthen Rail, or I think Leia, that was his name. But it was good to see how he picked up Claire. It was good to see how he had enough. It was good to see how he came about really forming the seeds of the rebellion. And, you know, it's one of those things, I mean, it was touched upon, at least you can say it was touched upon quite, in the sequel trilogy with Finn just having had enough of slaughtering innocent people. You can see Luthen is the same in episode 10, and it is, I mean, it's a poignant episode. I like the way that they infuse the title into the ending of the episode, and you can see that right from the off, Claire was the one that really was gung-ho about making people pay. A little bit psychotic in that respect to be so young and so into trying to kill people. But it was good to see the way that she interacted with Luthen, good to see the way he sort of schooled her and taught her and helped her get her, to be more aware of everything and more mature. So that was interesting. How Claire can infiltrate high security areas and take out guards like they were nothing and come in. I mean, she is a ninja level assassin that really should be above Cassian in terms of her ability. So, when she goes in and when she finally sees where Luthen is and has to kill him, and Luthen obviously had killed the ISB guy at the start as well, right? It shows me a side of the rebellion that probably I was aware of, certainly did not come across in Lucas's vision for it, and a side that I'm really not comfortable with. If the end justifies the means, then the rebellion is no better than the Empire, just a little bit more selective in their killing of people. But, Claire tearing up as she's killing Luthen, knowing it had to be done, having her be the one, really seeing when she spoke to Luthen that she knew she would be in that predicament if the circumstances were to play out as they'd foreseen, was interesting. But, Dedra confronting Luthen was a nice scene, I think, her finally realizing that, she was coming to the fruition of all of the work. But, it really was about Claire and how much sacrifice she has to make, in addition to Luthen, of course, who very expertly stabs himself. I thought he was going to stab Dedra, but he must have known that he was surrounded, so that's why he killed him, stabbed himself with the knife. But yeah, I thought that was an okay episode, but again, Claire has superhuman ninja level infiltration skills. So that was episode 10, and of course at the end, with Luthen dying, Dedra's in a predicament. And then we get episode 11, which had one really great scene between Krennic and Dedra. That was a great scene, and from what I understand, Ben Mendelsohn hadn't told Dedra that he was going to put his hand on her head like that. But the realization that he doesn't care for the ISB, he doesn't even care about the rebels, he just really wants to make sure that his project is safe. And, because of that, and because of Dedra's real failure to bring the rebels to light, to really have anyone left to question, she is going to be put away in a cell somewhere after she gives up some information to the other ISB guy to try and track down Claire. She realizes now that she pursued an avenue which definitely had dire consequences for her. But again, it sets up that episode where Cassian and Wilmon have to break the rules of the rebellion and go off to save Claire, I should say. And they take K2SO, who, quite frankly for me, other than Ben Mendelsohn, is the best thing about this episode. Again, can Gilroy and the creators write Star Wars in a way that doesn't give me the vibes of a very standard UK police SWAT team that are closing in, with this formation, flank me, get behind me, cover me, do all this stuff. It's just throwing in all of this stuff and all of these terms and all of these words and those accents just takes me out of Star Wars. There could be a raid on a council estate, for all I bloody know. It could have been another part of adolescence. Just don't do it. You don't need the words. Just have them move. Just have them move and don't speak, and don't have them, sort of describe what they're doing in a way that just has no imagination whatsoever. But, they're closing in. Cassian goes to convince Claire to come with him to Yavin, and she knows that her and Luthen are not well thought of. And I'll get to it in a minute, but Cassian gives a great speech in episode 12 about that. But he goes to rescue her, and it's all the tension of, is he going to get her out in time? Is he going to, come up against ISB, who are there trying to track her down, and they've taken all the power off in the grid, all comms have been suspended, and they're using a Star Trek style, very much device to try and pinpoint her location. The thing that Lucas did the best, he did many things the best. One of the things I really appreciated for him, what he did in Star Wars, was he took our instruments like binoculars or whatever and gave them a Star Wars twist. Gave them a futuristic twist. They just looked enough like what we had, but they had enough cool stuff about them from a look and a usage and a visual perspective that they were different. Now, Andor seems to have gone full on Earth level. I mean, even Claire checks the barrel of her blaster before she cocks it, right? And you don't need to see these things. I mean, when Stormtroopers and Han were using their blasters in the original trilogy, they didn't check to see if it was cocked properly or wasn't going to jam. They just fired these things. They just, again, these Earth habits are just not suitable for me for Andor, which is why I get to the frequency device where they're trying to pinpoint them, the tracking device. That looked way more like Star Trek than it did Star Wars. So it was a bit weird that they got the wrong frequency, got the wrong apartment. I almost thought they'd set them up in a decoy, in a smart move, in the way that a lot of films do, where you see the police about to raid something, you think they're going to raid the flat where that person is, and that they've actually completely somewhere else. They've done it in so many films. But really, it was incompetence on the ISP's part for not being able to track the signal. which of course, just happened to be monitored because Luthen didn't manage to destroy everything. Just exactly the point where Claire needed it and the ISB had closed in and was trying to find everyone. So those ridiculous coincidences added to my lack of suspension of disbelief. But again, it built up to this big climax. They're going to close in on Claire. Dedra's a bit screwed, and Krennic is pissed. So really, that was episode 11. I mean, who else knows? Who cares? Who cares? Why is the Empire caring anymore? They've already killed so many people. Why are they trying to, make the Death Star such a secretive project where the galaxy and universe can't know? Do they really feel that kind of uprising when they're ready to kill everyone? I don't know. It reminded me of a very poor version of the episode 17 People in the West Wing, which is my favourite show of all time. So for folks that say I don't like character-driven drama, hey, you can't get better than the West Wing. And that episode 17 People was amazingly done because it goes through all of the instances of the people that knew the president had a terminal illness and concealed it from the American people. And Toby brilliantly points out that the president is also one of those people, so he should be added to that list. This was a poor version of that, and the tension that was ratcheted up where they were trying to, track down Claire, going through the council estate, the projects of Coruscant, and you have an alien guy in a beanie coming out the flat. It was tension and movement that I'd seen before in a million other shows. Didn't make me feel like I was in the Star Wars universe, and I'd seen it all before. So again, it didn't really move me in any way. But as I said, the interactions with Krennic and Dedra was that scene I thought was great. But other than that, whatever. I've seen people trying to chase folks down. I mean, K2SO was good, but they don't seem to know what's going on. Comms are scrambled. Everyone's seeing the droid and no one's reporting appropriately. It just seemed ridiculous. And then we get to the episode to conclude Andor, episode 12, which has the, I'm not going to say twist ending, but, an ending and a resolution plus a hint at maybe something in the future, and I'll get to that at the end of this. But that last episode where Cassian goes back and rescues Claire. Okay. And I mean, in every episode, they seem to fly in and out of planets without any codes, without any clearance, without any, thought of being tracked from a landing and a taking off perspective. I thought the Empire tracked everyone these days, and that's a little detail that is so real life that they just didn't know how to handle it, so they didn't even bother explaining it, which is ridiculous. But let's get to episode 12, where the rescue occurs. So, of course, the ISB is closing in. They actually have the right apartment this time, and Cassian and Claire and the other dude are in there. I mean, he jumps out and they all have their guns pointed at him, and if this is the ISB, and you just stun him. Why did they even talk and let him jump back into the apartment? Just stun the man. And even if they stunned him and the others ran, I'm sure they could have got to him. Then shouldn't they have had, and couldn't they have had the place surrounded? Well, no backup. I mean, it's ridiculous. Then they throw a stun grenade, which doesn't seem to stun anyone other than Claire. Both Cassian and the other dude are immediately up, and Andor's a little bit of a fuzzy head, but the other guy's shooting already. So I don't know what version of stun grenade they have, but in the original trilogy, you get hit with a stun blast, you're stunned. So that was a bit ridiculous. Managing to escape, as usual, as we suspected. K2SO comes in and just kills everyone. I mean, it was funny in a way, but it just shows that Cassian and Claire were not really up to it. And then they escape and get back to Yavin. And they have created havoc on the way. Obviously, Mon Mothma and her cousin were instrumental in getting them back, and Bail Organa is being portrayed as a bit of a dick, but that's the way they want to go with him. He's not going to survive much longer anyway. But yeah, you do see a different side to Bail, and you see another side of Saw, and you see why the rebellion is so fractioned and no one seems to get on with each other, and the leadership is ridiculous. So Saw being wiped out, Bail being wiped out, Mon Mothma and maybe a couple of others being the leaders probably helped streamline them. But it was an okay episode. Again, the start of it was the rescue, the second half of it was the ramifications. They tried to tie everything up with a neat little bow with Cassian heading off for, I think, the intro of Rogue One, where he's getting information from that informant. And the general, can't remember his name, is saying, "Oh, no, we're getting all these messages, but they only speak to you, Cassian." I mean, that was a little bit too forced for me. Clearly, that they should have been able to get the information themselves and decide what to do with it. But who knows? But then Cassian gives that impassioned speech about how Luthen really is the heart and the reason the rebellion exists, and did everything that the other folks were too scared to do or too weak to do. So it's really not painted the rebellion in a good light. Killing innocent people, they try and influence and get what they want and how they need it for what they need to do. It's not George Lucas's rebellion. It's not Dave Filoni's rebellion. It is a more realistic rebellion, which is what Gilroy wants and Kathleen Kennedy signed off on. So, in some ways you could say they had to portray it realistically, because as I said, Andor is a Christopher Nolan of the Star Wars universe. They had to portray it realistically in order to achieve the ends that they were looking to get, and especially tying into Rogue One. But, it didn't really hold me. Again, they get to Yavin 4, everything seems to be going okay, they're going to have a battle very, very soon. And I might do another video on this, but like when I watched the original trilogy, it seemed like the rebellion, and if you watch Rebels, they're in pockets, they're hitting the Empire here and there, they had bases that have been abandoned, they ended up on Yavin 4, which was something the Empire weren't aware of. They were well aware of a rebellion, and it seemed the Empire was fighting against the rebellion. But Tony Gilroy seems to have rewritten Star Wars history by saying up until the Battle of Yavin, the Emperor didn't really know anything about a rebellion. Even though Project Axis was something the ISB was aware of, and maybe he didn't think it was serious. I don't know. It portrays it in such a different light. For the ISB to be so useless and ineffective as well is a sad end to the tale. I thought that was a cop-out and was not consistent, and was something I was pretty disappointed in. Yes, Dedra is in a prison and messed up and knows about the Death Star and will never be heard from again. But to have Partagaz kill himself because the rebels got away, it wouldn't have been easy for Vader to have choked him out. I don't know. Maybe he just foresaw Vader, and especially where is Vader, but maybe foresaw Vader killing him, so he said, let me kill myself. But it just seemed so pointless. Couldn't he have gone to Vader and the Emperor and everyone said, hey, look, we can confirm there are rebels now. One of them escaped, and that one killed the other person we're going to interview, and look, we're going to keep searching for them and use our ISB tactics to find them. But no, Partagaz just kills himself. I don't know what was the point of that scene, whether he was trying to go out with honor, whether he was trying to avoid being stuck in a prison like Dedra. I really didn't think the ISB had failed so spectacularly that warranted it, but again, didn't make sense, did not like it, kind of weird choices and weak writing. And it kind of does tie up with, obviously, Cassian flying off to the start of Rogue One, and we know what's going to happen there. And then it cuts to Bix with the baby. Bix living back on, I can't remember the name of that planet, the corn planet that they were on in the Outer Rim. Bix living a happy life. The baby that she has is clearly Cassian's baby. Unless that, she had another minor infraction with an Imperial officer that we didn't see. But if it's Cassian's baby, what is going on? Why didn't she tell Cassian? That's a little bit rude and harsh. I know she's maybe her right as a mother didn't want to bother Cassian, knew that Cassian would give up everything for the baby. But that was stupid. Her being pregnant, was that supposed to explain some of her behavior and what she was doing? I don't know. Maybe that's why they threw it in there. Cassian not knowing, And dying, not knowing that he has a child, makes it even more ridiculous. So, what a silly ending for me. Did not need to see that. Didn't care where Bix was or what she was doing. The only way that I think that ending would be worthwhile in the way that they did it is if that baby is force sensitive, if that baby grows up to be a Jedi under Luke's new order, or maybe Rey trains them, I don't know. But other than that, who cares? Because really you're saying Bix screwed Cassian and then screwed him again by not telling him. Cassian got screwed and then dies. Partagaz failed and then kills himself. Dedra stuck in a hole in the middle of nowhere. Cyril's already dead. Saw dies in Rogue One. So what was the point of all these characters? Luthen's dead. I mean, there's just Clea left. It'd be interesting to see where she ends up. And obviously Mon Mothma and her crazy cousin. Those are really the three ones that will be interesting to see how they turn out and whether Clea actually integrates with the rest of the rebellion. But, you know, other than that, who cares? Did we need to see what all these folks had done to get the rebellion where it was? I didn't need to see it. Did we need to see so much stuff set at such a minutiae level of gritty detail in the Star Wars universe to see how people move around and walk around or whatever? I didn't need to see it. Did we need to see such incompetence from so many different areas? I didn't need to see it. Just show me a tale of basic good versus evil. Show me a tale with action, adventure, excitement, and intrigue. Show me a fantastical tale with things I've never seen before. That's my Star Wars. And all through Andor Season 2, this wasn't it. People are going to say, wow, that emotionally hit really hard. Wow, look at the character development. Wow, look at Rogue One now in a different light. Yeah, I get it. But it's fundamentally changed everything. The rebellion leaders are pieces of crap for the way that they've acted themselves. The Empire is even more ruthless, but even more incompetent at the same time. Other than incompetence, no huge information there. And now I know how people shop and sleep and take drugs and shower and take their coffee and their noodles and their breakfast cereal and dress and watch TV in the Star Wars universe. A lot of that was done poorly in the holiday special, but at least there was enough imagination from Lucas to keep it in the Star Wars vein. As I said, Tony Gilroy should write character-based drama, but I didn't need to see this in Star Wars. So, overall, last 3 episodes, a little bit better, a little bit of excitement with the raid, but again, too much real-world stuff going on. So, a little bit better than the first few episodes. Not completely boring, but again, not holding my huge interest. I would give them 6.5 out of 10. I don't know how Andor did. I've heard that it did well. I don't think Disney are making another season. I don't know if they're going to do more projects with Tony Gilroy, but I want to get back to lore and mystery and the Force and spectacular battles and action and characters that I love. So let's see what the future holds. There you go, that's it. That's my review of Andor Season 2 episodes 10 to 12. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you love it, hate it? Are you a huge Andor fan? I know many folks that are. Did you agree or disagree with anything I said? As usual, please like, share, subscribe to help support the channel. And there will be some big films coming out soon. Really excited to see Superman. Really excited to see Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. So I'll catch you next time.